You're listening to season 15 of the Virtual Tailgate, a media bullcrap production covering college football in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm Andrew.
I'm David.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm depressed.
It's
Be
good to
sure
think
to
that's
join.
your real name.
Be sure to join the tailgate on Facebook at Virtual Tailgate or email us at virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
You know, they say the ceiling is the roof, that Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was the West. It was built on the strong backs and perseverance of the confidence of those with the walk in taller, Tacovas work boots, thanks to the Western comfort of the boots those provide. And with that confidence, you too can enjoy just a small bit of what made the West great. And speaking of being great, throwing it to Andrew here for some great players this week.
All right, kicking it off uh, with NC State. NC State seems to like to spot their opponents about a half of football before coming back to beat them down mercilessly. And CJ Bailey led the charge for the Wolfpack in that way. This week, he went uh, 23 of 32 for 201 passing yards and 3 total touchdowns on NC State's way to a comeback victory over Wake Forest.
Andrew,
Jared.
that's a food truck fire of a pick right there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I'm going to go with a quarterback from Georgia Tech, Haynes King. He has been a prominent force for the Yellow Jackets lately, and it's just continuing to show. Big upset against Clemson on that last second field goal, walk-off field goal, which I think someone may talk about here in a bit. But King was a big part of the victory over Clemson, 20-28, 211 passing yards, 103 on the ground, and a touchdown. So Haynes King is the pretty much the Swiss Army knife for that Georgia Tech offense, and it's continuing to show. The Yellow Jackets do have to be concerned here going forward if he could just remain healthy. He is taking some beatings out there, so we'll see how the season progresses for them.
Well, Jared, I agree. Hanks King was very good in this one, but the real star of the show, kicker Aiden Barr for Georgia Tech, had a monster game, 3 for 3 on his kicks, including a school record tying 55-yarder as time expired to seal the victory in the Yellow Jackets upset over Clemson. Huge game, one of the biggest wins in years for Georgia Tech. This is one of the most exciting teams they've had in a very long time. Aiden Barr was right at the center of it, and he gets his very first virtual tailgate game ball.
I don't care. All right.
Sorry, Dabo. The seat's getting a little warm down there in Clemson.
Boy, you get your butt beat.
Oh, that's just the global warming, David. I don't think it's.
I'm sick of it. I don't even know why we even bring up the dadgum word.
Oh man. Well, speaking of we're on kind of a quarterback kick, except for Aiden Barr today, and David, I think you may have said it most succinctly that until proven otherwise, uh, how do we describe Miami right now?
They're back.
They're back. They
They're
are
so
they are
back.
they are back for at least
I'm the best
temporarily.
player in the
We've seen.
country. I'm humbly saying that, and I'm confident saying that.
Thanks, Cam.
All right. Well, Cam Ward may no longer be the quarterback of the Miami Hurricanes, but coming into really a game in which some of us were really saying this to making this to be a show me game for Miami at least early on in the season, a top 25 matchup against USF and Coral Gables. Carson Beck, high profile transfer from Georgia over the last off season. First season here at Miami had an explosive game for the Hurricanes in the most high profile matchup that they've played to date with 23 of 28, 340 yards, 3 TDs through the air, added another 28 yards and a TD on the ground. Add that with the Notre Dame win to start the season, and as David has said, at least until proven otherwise, Mario Cristobal and the U is indeed back right now, and Carson Beck really put on a show and really played up to be the quarterback that everybody down in Miami was hoping he would be when he transferred from Georgia.
All right, well put. Well, now we're moving on here because we now have these power rankings that are brought to you by the new segment, Deep Thoughts, the Virtual Tailgate. As you go ahead and play some very beautiful music in your head, since we don't have any ready to go here on the podcast, but just pretend and use something soft, soothing as I read this statement aloud. Why don't they make all underwear brown? It would save so much embarrassment for so many people. And this is my conclusion of the deep thoughts from the virtual tailgate. Namaste. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into this power rankings here.
Hold on, Jared. It's all right. It's all right. I know the power rankings this week might be a little upsetting, so I don't wanna tax you. I'll go ahead and run through it, hear it for you. We'll just you don't have to think about it. You don't have to. No, you're not going to hear anything bad in this power rankings at all. You definitely didn't see it. I mean, you already heard from the guys. Miami is back. Miami at number one, 3-0 record after their commanding win over South Florida. Number two, Georgia Tech rising up a spot after they uh, beat Clemson in that with that last second field goal. Somebody had to drop in order for Georgia Tech to go up, and so we get our weekly FU award going out to Florida State because they went on a bye. Somehow Louisville escapes FU by and gets to hold at number four, while also being on a bye. SMU holds steady at number five by beating Missouri State. Um, Getting down to the bottom three, we've got Boston College tumbling 5 spots down to make it in intro into our bottom three after they went out west and lost to Stanford by 10 points. Wake Forest also tumbles a spot uh, after they lost to NC State. And bringing up the bottom here,
Now, Rock says they kept you at the bottom of the barrel because you absolutely suck.
oh, shit, Jared, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Look, number 17 with a bullet, Virginia Tech. Jared, if you've composed yourself after all that time, we're going to set the clock at 5 minutes. The floor is yours. Tell us how you feel about Virginia Tech being at the bottom of the barrel.
Well, first of all, you mentioned with a bullet. I'm totally in favor of that. They should be using a bullet at this point to put this team down. eh, Outside of that, if that's not an option, let's talk about what the hell has happened in Blacksburg. Back around 2015, Frank Beamer decided to call it quits. With Babcock, the athletic director decided to bring in Justin Fuente from Memphis. Now, of course, this on paper looked like a good hire, and it was off to a good start. Fuente's first season, he got the team to the ACC title game against Clemson, where they got obliterated. Since 2016, to a 2015-2016 season, it's pretty much been a continual downhill experience for the Hokies. And of course, you could say, is it coaching? Is it the player talent? Is it resources available? The answer is yes to all of it. It's just been the
Is it the
inability to
judgment of the gods?
yeah, it's just been the inability to succeed in a different climate of college football today. A climate that, even to Justin Fuente's credit, he foresaw coming and probably did his best to alert the program what to do, and Virginia Tech said no. Hence why Justin Fuente is now on the freaking college football board to decide which teams go to the college football playoff, as well as make advice of how to handle procedure uh, for the future of the sport. But back to this. Fuente is fired. J.C. Price comes in as interim head coach, gets a miracle win against UVA, a bowl game, and they get obliterated. Brent Pry now comes in as a defensive coordinator from Penn State, does a rebuilding season. Then he gets the team to about 7 wins his second season. Looks like progress is being made. Third season in is supposed to be the jumping point. He only gets 6 wins and is an embarrassment in the bowl game. Then the season happened. 0-3 to start. 62 points allowed and none scored. 62 to nothing in a 4-quarter span between the games of Vanderbilt in the second half and the first half of ODU. Both of these games were in Blacksburg. Absolutely, devastatingly embarrassing. And to the point where there was no choice but to remove the head coach. Now, of course, Philip Montgomery comes in here as the head coach for the Hokies, experience from Tulsa. Did okay, nothing great. Offensive coordinator, and let's be honest, the offense has been lacking at times. There's really not much hope on this sinking ship of this season. Players are quitting. The team is looking at their options, obviously, and the players are looking at to see how the hell they can get out and maintain their red shirt eligibility. So, what the hell is next for the Hokies in football, at least? That's a good question. There's options out there. There's ways to proceed. There's ways to go, but it all comes down to leadership. It all comes down to the president, Tim Sands. Does he care about football? Can he be convinced to care about football? And then if he can be convinced to care about football, can he convince the board of visitors to care? And I'll be frank with you, because Beamer's not coming through that door again. If he sure is, he's not coming in as a coach. I don't, I legit don't see a positive path forward for this program. There is a tumultuous time right now in college football with the realignment coming down the pipeline about 2030, 2031, where the ACC will once again probably be unstable because the exit fee will drop down to about $75 billion, which will be pocket change for the really good programs in this conference. They will be leaving the ACC, probably. Virginia Tech probably won't be that group. Virginia Tech may be stuck in a purgatory in terms of financial considerations down the road. And it's really sad because at the end of the day, this was a program that is known for one thing only. When you ask someone about Virginia Tech, they don't tell you, oh, it's about the academics. They don't mention engineering as the first thing. Hell, they don't mention, the Corps of Cadets. They say the first thing is football. And if they're going to lose their pride and joy of football because the president of the university and the board of visitors doesn't understand that you need a good football program to bring in the money to necessarily fund your educational aspirations, then hope is lost. You need all of it to succeed. You need all of the checks and balances of both the academic side along with the sports side to make the university function, the economy work down Southwest Virginia, Central Virginia, hell, the whole damn state. And at the end of the day, if the president of the university does not understand that, either get a new president in there that does, or just go ahead and admit for the fact that we're destined to be a tier 2, tier 3 football program, where 7 wins is now the new 10 wins, and a bowl visit to Idaho is considered a success instead of disappointment. I think that's something Virginia Tech and the leadership down there needs to really think about before they make their next decision, because this one will be your last chance to right the ship. Questions?
I have a question, Jared. I have 2 questions. So we talked about this a little bit before coming on the air. I'm curious to hear your take on Michael Vick and his possible role going forward with Virginia Tech, and uh, if you could wave a magic wand and have the Hokies bring in anybody out there, who would it be?
Those are good questions, David. So the Michael Vick thing. Let's just let's nip the head coaching dream in the bud right now, because first of all, he's struggling with Norfolk State. Now, understandably so. Norfolk State was a mess that he's taken over. No one should realistically expected him to be succeeding like like a Deion Sanders trajectory. Just not feasible. And even if he was succeeding, Virginia Tech has it in their bylaws of their program for any coach, they can't be hired if they are a convicted felon. Michael Vick is a convicted felon. Okay? We all remember what he did with the dogs. I'm sorry, that's not gonna just be wiped clean. And, Virginia Tech, rightfully so, should not be changing the statute of limitations, statute of law for their, hiring process just to bring in a guy, name recognition. Now, Michael Vick can still be brought on maybe as a GM role or, an advisor role. I think that would be perfectly fine. In fact, the GM role I think would be fantastic for Michael Vick, kind of like Andrew Luck at Stanford. But as a head coach, just let that dream go right now and move forward, folks. It's not happening. Now, your second question. If I could wave the magic wand.
Next question.
Yeah, next question. Wave the magic wand and get someone in here to take over this program and get this ship righted. And sending money is not an issue because let's be honest, it is right now for Virginia Tech, one of the worst funded programs in the ACC for sports. There's a coach right now that's, yeah, his salary's kind of busy, but not because he's coaching. because he's doing some play-by-play. And not even play-by-play, but just doing some basic analytical work from 9 to noon on ESPN. I seriously pick up the phone and contact Nick Saban and just make sure the answer is no. Because the worst he can say is that. If he comes back, he says, "I'll think about it," then you kinda go ahead and start really sweetening that pot and make him really think about coming back. He's already regarded as probably the greatest college head coaches all the time, but there are people still debate that maybe Bear Bryant's better. If Saban wants that to get under his skin, he needs to come out of retirement then and solidify by somehow bringing a not even a national title for Virginia Tech, just make it respectable here in Blacksburg and get that program's footing back underneath. If assuming, of course, Saban would say no, let's get more realistic. There's other options out there. Jimbo Fisher, honestly, he's from Virginia. He may be interested, and I don't think money's gonna be an issue because he's got a lot of information in him. You got of course, you could look at Doug Peterson. He's an analyst right now on Fox. He's been out for a few years, but he's well respected. See if he's interested in probably working in this NIL, chaos of the world it is today. Really could, if he succeeds at Blacksburg, he could really make sure that resume is sealed tight and be a Hall of Famer if he's not already. I would say outside of those 2, I like
You
those
guys feel like his number 3 is gonna be himself at this point?
No, I actually think I know. So sometimes you gotta look at in-state candidates, Jared. The guy who's at William and Mary now has had a lot of success there. He's got experience at the Power 4 level in the ACC. He was once a police officer.
I don't think Mike London would be a good fit right now. Although you mentioned
The
in-state,
Hokies have won every game he ever coached in that they were competing in.
the one coach that could be a good fit is right on 81 up in Harrisonburg. He could be a decent fit, although he's the power.
So
He's
Bob
not from,
Chesney at JMU.
he's yeah, he's not from the group of the power 4 though. He's from the group of 5, but I think that's a name that if money is an issue where they just don't have the funds, which Virginia Tech, that may be that they're gonna probably argue that like we just don't have the money. See if that could be he could be convinced. But honestly, if you're him, you probably say no. And I think that's what's gonna be the issue is if they don't get realistic coaches, if they don't get the money, good quality coaches are going to say no because they can just see that the funding to succeed is not available.
I
And
like
it
what you
sucks.
said, Jared, about this being like a generational decision for them. I mean, that's why you can tell they're taking it seriously. But you don't fire your coach before the midpoint in the month of September unless you are pretty serious about trying to get it right. And I think clearly they are.
And that's the one thing is with Babcock, the athletic director, this will be his 3rd hire, which I don't think is gonna happen. I think part of this transitional discussion they're gonna be having is Babcock probably resigning, and they're gonna have to find another athletic director, which is gonna be huge because they're gonna have to find one that's in alignment with understanding that football is unfortunately, as fair or unfair it is for other sports, it's king. It pays the bills, and they gotta succeed in it. And if you don't, you're gonna be left behind. And that's just the simple fact of the business today. And before we move on, I know we gotta move on because we are a podcast on a somewhat tight window.
He
What
said as he idly scrolls his phone.
Yeah, I was trying to see the list I had. I mentioned Jimbo, Doug. You know, there could be one more coach available in the conference, depending on how his season goes.
Are you going to bring in Dabo?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to have a talk.
But
But
you want the only coach in the entirety of the Power 5 who basically refuses to play the new game, who might get fired because he refuses to play the new game?
I would ask him if he's learned his lesson. If the answer is no, then you move on. But
I I mean I
So,
mean, like, am I perfect? Nope. I don't think it's a good in fact, and you're part of the problem. Uh,
What do you
it
think?
is that you interested is that that you say that though, Jared, about being in the conference because if we are being serious about in conference hires and I don't know any of their contracts, but I'm thinking of of a guy who he's been around the block a bit, doesn't mind moving locations, and has probably, made chicken salad out of some lesser things up in Chestnut Hill. If you're talking about somebody from within the conference, now I have no idea his appetite to move down to Blacksburg, but it certainly would be a slight step up from Boston College, and he's definitely got a resume of being around the block and doesn't mind moving teams to start over. So, I mean, that's probably not your ideal hire, but you probably could do worse as well.
I think the Hokies have to hit a home run, and I just saw one more hire that it could be their last ditch effort hire, albeit it's more toward the ex NFL coach hire. There's a guy that's itching to get back in the game, and I think he's ready to go to college. And for the longest time, he was rumored to be Tennessee's coach until they hired someone else. But
Oh my god, he's going Jeff Fisher.
no, not the Tennessee Oilers or the Tennessee Titans.
He wants something better than a 5-7 record every year.
Let's just say
I mean
Virginia
I
Tech
mean, what he was describing pretty much fits the bill of Jeff Fisher.
let's just say that I think his lawsuit with the NFL will be finalized soon enough, and he'll be more than happy to move on to something more
I think he's
enticing.
describing Greg Schiano.
Oh God, not quite. I think Greg is pretty. I think there's only one place Greg Schiano could coach, and that's Rutgers. So they're just
Uh,
made for each other up there. Anyone that doesn't understand the answer is John Gruden. But I think that's again. You gotta swing big if you're the Hokies. Seriously, you've got to swing big for a head coach at this point. Dan Mullen, I mean, we were talking about that before the show too, but is another possibility. But we'll just have to wait and see because some coordinator from a I just don't think a coordinator hire is going to do it. I think they got
Well,
to get someone with actual experience and
but
someone that's got NFL experience or group of four experience that knows how to coach in these bigger games.
how about somebody with both? So what about Florida State's offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn?
You know, I think the Hokie fans could maybe accept that because or they were going to be forced to accept it because yeah, Maslin did have success with a good quarterback with Cam Newton, but if you look outside of that year, they really do much. So I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons at this point. Mostly there's a reason why most of these NFL these college coaches are available, right? You know, they're ex coaches. It wasn't because they chose to leave, unless you're Saban. It's kind of like there's the door, don't let it hit you. But
I
There's a
the
guy who's now on the college football playoff committee who could be a fantastic hire. He's got some Power Five experience as well. He's been out of work for several years.
Got
did he change his
familiarity with
offensive
the
coordinator
program.
yet?
They might still be
I
paying him for all I know.
I think they are. I
Just
think we
call him back into action.
yeah. I have to say, I think the thing that actually really hasn't in terms of, like, people in various coaching trees that hasn't shaken out, like, like, I think Tech got bad just about a year too early to start to know this, is who's really got that new ability to reload every year within the portal and who's teaching that to their guys. So, maybe it's Mike Norvell and Gus Malzahn has learned that, but we don't fully know. Like, it seems like they did the things went, they had Jordan Travis, things went terrible because they thought they picked the right quarterback and they messed up. And now 1 year later, they've done the right thing. So it'll be interesting to me because someone's going to emerge soon enough as like the guy who does the new thing the right way and just goes out and reloads and knows how to scout talent and builds a spectacular team year after year and maybe flukes it once every half a decade and doesn't do too well.
well, that's what I'm trying to do at Chapel
I,
Hill.
I know
Yeah,
that
exactly.
I know that this guy said that he's in his current spot to stay, but I'd make a call to Fran Brown at Syracuse because he learned from Kirby Smart, who is maybe the very best in the game right now, had a phenomenal quick turnaround at Syracuse. Virginia Tech's a more attractive job than that, I think. I think it'd be worth a call.
I think, yeah, if you're looking more at the realistic options, if the funding is not there, which again we got to assume it won't be because Virginia Tech is going to play cheap and just say we're blue collar, we're just going to we're going to live in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s on name recognition. We don't need to make any changes or upgrades. And I could easily see the board of visitors saying that because they're so backwards thinking. Um, then yeah, you could maybe entice a coach like that to come down to Blacksburg, but then again, Syracuse be like, well, Virginia Tech's only got this much money. We'll match it and give you a 25% raise on top of that. Like if they want to keep him. I think a lot of these places can do it in the conference right now. Maybe not Wake Forest, but no one's knocking on that door right now because that's a whole hell of another level of a job to do down there.
All right. Is that the final word for tonight on the Virginia Tech coaching search and the end of the Brent Pry era, as unceremonious as it was?
Well, David, I think we do owe like a moment though for Brent Pry, who is now entering the greatest job in the history of the world, which is to be a fired football coach with a buyout.
Listen, man, things aren't all that bad. It sucks, but then again, you can start your holiday shopping earlier. You can go on a vacation. The housing market's not terrible quite yet. You can probably still sell for flip for a little profit. Yeah, look at the positives here. You could go back probably work under James Franklin next year. I mean, it's not all that bad.
He'll be pretty highly sought after as a defensive coordinator somewhere, probably.
He's not going to be he's not going to be out of work for long. I mean, honestly, real real talk is that Pry was a nice guy. Like no one really said anything bad about him. It was just clear he could not coach for whatever reason, like as a head coach. Coordinator, yeah, but it's just like it just sometimes
That's
doesn't
tough,
click and it
man.
did not click.
Yeah, I mean, you're a CEO of a major multi-million-dollar organization. That's a tough job.
Yeah.
You've
And
got it. These people must love doing it because if somebody handed me $6.5 million, I think I'd take 4 of that, invest it in an index fund, move to a low cost of living island, and be just live off the dividends for the rest of my days,
yeah,
sipping sipping cocktails and doing whatever the heck else I
well,
want.
especially if you've already been sitting on a job that's paying you $4.5 million a year to begin with. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Jared, that, Pry will have plenty of opportunities, but if I'm him, buddy, I'm never working another day in my life.
Mm.
Yeah,
He's
Jim
55 years old. That's a nice early retirement. Come on.
Jimbo's doing it right. Like we haven't heard like hide nor hair of him.
No, Jimbo does a little bit of TV work, a little bit of radio work. Looks fine, looks happier than ever. Good
Yep,
deal.
it'd be like in Cabo, and that'd
But
be the end of it.
but you do know what it is though. He's gonna get they always get the edge
I
back.
do. I
They
do.
and I guarantee you, I really if I had to put my hunch if for a big name hire, it would be Jimbo. And I think he'd actually work if they give Jimbo the money to work, I bet he could actually make it work here in Blacksburg. But they got to give him the money to get the players.
Yeah, I think if you can catch him looking for a challenge, I think that'd be a fantastic hire.
If you can hire before Halloween, even better.
It, and tell Jimbo, guess what? Don't you dare throw out that Christmas tree, buddy. You can keep it.
I
Keep it
mean,
in the house. We'll
I
decorate
mean,
it for you.
you get Jimbo in, bring Jameis back, have him work
Oh,
as a quarterbacks coach. I
We
mean,
would
there's not really any seafood restaurants in Blacksburg, so
no, there's not.
you don't have to worry about that. So
There's Cabo
that's
Fish
okay.
Taco, I think, somewhere down
Okay,
there.
so I went a little early. If you hired him to tell like as a stunt hire to start his career to coach the UVA Tech game, we would know that we have influence in the wider world of the ACC if Babcock showed up at the signing ceremony dragging a Christmas tree to Jimbo. Like that's not funny.
Sit there, he's saying,
You're here for the long term.
it's like, here's your damn Christmas tree.
Uh,
That would be top tier.
I
All
mean,
right.
if Jimbo gets a contract for Virginia Tech on top of that A&M contract, he can literally start a borderline some sort of empire.
I was gonna
But
say, will he buy Blacksburg next?
he could.
All right, boys. I think we've officially reported Jimbo to Blacksburg as a done deal. Let's
Yes.
move on to more immediate matters. We're going to take a quick look at our three top matchups of this weekend. But first, let's look back and see. Oh, what would you know? I had the hottest week in week three, $743 to the good. But Andrew is still way out ahead for the season, sitting at $1,647. Andrew, I don't know if you're really gambling, but you should be.
I
And
I just I should have actually just put money on that Florida State game early on. That was it. Out of all the rest, that's all my winnings.
Well, amazingly enough, we're all still on the right side of the ledger. But coming off a $384 loss in week three, Jared is now bringing up the rear. We'll see if that changes this week. Our first key matchup, the Florida Gators traveling down to Coral Gables, taking on the Miami Hurricanes. What's Miami up to in the nation right now? Number four.
Yep.
So a very highly ranked Hurricane squad. Florida been struggling on the season. Billy Napier at the very top of the coach's hot seat right now. However, somehow this is only a 6.5 point spread here. Miami giving 6.5 in this one. That's nuts, right, Jared?
It is in a way because it doesn't make any sense. But you got to remember, Florida is kind of fighting. Like I'm surprised too when I watched them play. Like they did not just roll over and die against LSU. They gave them all they could handle. Like against like what seems to be a really good LSU team again. I, I'm not. Listen, I'm just going to say this. Yes, on paper, Miami should go ahead and kick their teeth in. This should be good. This could be Napier's last game if it just goes off the rails. But this team seems to rally behind their coach to the best of their abilities. It's just Florida has a gauntlet of a schedule this year. They could be known as the best 3-win team ever, depending on how this goes, because it's just their competition is ridiculous this year. Now, do I think Florida's gonna win? No. I think Florida will make it close, though. I think they keep it within a score, and I think they go ahead and find a way to make it very interesting for Miami. You never know with these rivalry games, they always come out a little more interesting than they ever have any right to be. And I understand why you all three disagree. I can't argue against it. I'm just gonna say rivalry games just sometimes just get strange, and they get strange fast.
Why is he wrong, fellas?
So on most of the sane sports books right now, the spread has already widened out to 7.5. I say most of the sane ones because somehow the ESPN bets, which is probably what like 90% of the country is mostly looking at from first jump, opened this game at 3.5 and it's closed to 3, which
Wow.
like
Somebody knows something we don't.
I think I might need to create an account on the ESPN bet sports books and just like bet the mortgage on Miami covering a 3-point spread. Good grief. But nonetheless, like Jared like started out, he set up all of the parameters that are correct and then just made the exact wrong choice after all of that. Like Florida is struggling on the season. Miami is absolutely not. This is not the game that that starts Miami on the downward spiral. That will be Florida State next week. But like this is no, this is the like everything that we've seen about Miami says this game is going to be a big blowout. Miami is not likely to take their foot off the gas in this game, and I just can't like. What is ESPN on at only a -3? Like I no. Look, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. When Miami finally does play a team that is comparable, Mario Cristobal will completely forget how to manage a football game in the fourth quarter, and they will lose. Like this is a tale as old as time. It will happen, but this is not that game, Jeff.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. I will give kudos to Jared on his assessment is that Florida, for their 1-2 record, um, they have at least their defense has come to play against both USF and the LSU losses, that they've had this year. Neither one of them blowout losses. We knew the USF one was the battle of field goals a couple of weeks ago. I think the reason that I what really in one data point, I guess you could say, doesn't make a trend, but really just what Miami did last week to South Florida in a game in which it came in with not quite this, a game that was a matchup of 2 top 25 teams and had a big spread, and I thought for sure, I mean, Andrew, it's scary talking about bet the mortgage because I really felt like betting the mortgage on that one. It ended up with Miami just totally obliterating USF in that game, and so I think this is a Miami team that at some point we joked that they're gonna trip up at an inopportune time, but this is a team that's out to make a statement, and a touchdown against the struggling Florida team, even if the defense is there, I'll take a touchdown there.
It does not happen very often, but I have to admit, I was wrong last week. I believe my exact phrasing was that Miami's a team that might spend a little bit too much time playing with their food, which could give underdogs an opportunity to cover a spread. They did anything but that against USF last week, dominating, looking brilliant in a 37-point victory. Incidentally, I mean, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about how impressive it is that Florida kept the game close against USF. They managed only a 2-point loss to the team that just lost by 40 to Miami. This is a transitive property game if I've ever seen one. Transitive property is undefeated in the history of college sports. Give me Miami minus anything in this one. Hurricanes win big. They're back.
David, stop accidentally invoking the circle of suck.
Speaking of,
I think by using that incredibly rational logic that David just doomed Miami to dropping this game.
Yeah.
Lord,
well,
please let that happen because it'll be so freaking funny.
speaking of circles of suck, the Orange of Syracuse are traveling south, headed to Death Valley, taking on the Clemson Tigers. Clemson team that has now dropped 2 of their first 3 on the season. Looked out of sorts on the road at Georgia Tech last weekend, coming home, licking their wounds, trying to get back into a winning way. Big spread in this one. Clemson 17.5-point favorites. Um, Looks like all 3 of you were pretty high on Syracuse. Tell me why.
Well, I'm going to say Syracuse in the spread, so I don't think they'll win. But yeah, 3 scores is not exactly like
I'm not sure Clemson can score 3 times watching their offense.
that's the thing. I think yeah, I could see like a 16-3 game, possibly depending on how bad Syracuse's offense is, and going down the Death Valley is not easy, and depending on what Clemson can do on offense, I just don't have not been impressed too much of what they've been doing on the offensive side of the ball. Uh, their Klubnik has been struggling as a quarterback. At this point, I just think there's a lot of questions on offense. Is this the game to get clicking? Maybe it could be finally be that one that gets them motivated to get going. But at the end of the day, we just haven't seen it. I think Syracuse covers. I think Clemson still wins, and they may actually still win by 2 scores. But I just think, I mean, 17 in the hook is quite a bit to offer, and I think you take the points.
Jeff, you got the same.
Yeah, and this is really based off of really a couple of things. Is one, the struggles of Clemson are well documented this early in the season. The offense is not playing up to snuff. The defense has been okay, but certainly nothing that's been locked down compared to what we've been used to seeing. And this is a Syracuse team that, for rightfully or wrongfully, and the players turn over, pretty much the whole roster turns over now with the transfer portal. But they have played the Tigers, and oftentimes they play some of these high profile games tough. And Fran Brown has shown that kind of ability to get his team to play, maybe not come out on top, but play some of these teams tougher. Now, earlier in the season, the season opener, I believe it was against Tennessee, did not look overly sharp in that game, so I'm not sure how competitive Syracuse will be in this one, but an offense that can put up some yards, they got a good junior quarterback there who can at least keep the game competitive, I think, putting the ball through the air. Clemson defense that has been suspect for a lot of the season. It kinda goes it's kind of the reverse logic of my Miami minus 6.5. It's just a gut feel that is Syracuse a winner in this game? I'm gonna leave that to somebody else to convince me of that, but I certainly think that they can play within 17 points.
So I think I will not be surprised at all if Syracuse covers the spread, but I do think there's a chance that Clemson gets it together in this one. Their backs are against the wall in a big way. It's what you guys said about Florida writ large with more talent. This Clemson team's better than that. They're much better than the Syracuse team. If they fire on all cylinders, this could be a big Clemson win. That's why I'm hedging, taking Clemson on the money line. That's the one thing I know will happen. I think we can all agree with that there's no way Syracuse wins.
So Klubnik's only got 600 passing yards on the season. Meanwhile, his opposite number on Syracuse, Angeli, has already eclipsed 1,000 passing yards on the season. Now, granted, they beat the pants off of Colgate, but Klubnik should also have those extra 400 yards from when they should have beat the pants off of Troy, and they didn't. Like, this Clemson team is a problem, and so I am taking the value pick here in saying that Syracuse is going to run down to Death Valley and walk away with a win, and that we're going to be starting to count the number of coaches within the ACC either on the hot seat or already gone, but before the season fully gets spooky.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that. You guys know this is why Andrew's walking around with wads of $100 bills in his pocket. It's picks like this.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Well, it brings us at last to Tobacco Road. This is our ACC game of the week, and it is an exciting matchup. In a way, two teams that kind of seem to be going in opposite directions, and a spread that I'm interested to see, Andrew, if this is moved because it seems a little crazy to me. Duke is playing host to NC State. Wolfpack are 3-0 in the season, maybe one of the best second half teams in the whole country right now. Traveling to take on a Duke team that has stumbled out of the gate in a big way. Could not get the job done against Tulane on Saturday night. But Duke opens as 3-point home favorites in this one. And we don't like that. Up for the virtual tailgate, that line is going to move.
It amazingly, that line hasn't moved. It's locked in so far today. Still at 3.
I guess it's basically a pick 'em. I mean, you get 3 for being at home, although I'm not sure that a Duke home game. I mean, there will be more Wolfpack fans at Wallace Wade Stadium than there are Blue Devil fans. Um, all right. I mean, we're all taking NC State. 3 of us are taking NC State to win the game outright. Jared is the only one without any guts. Jared, explain your thought process here.
Without any guts, I'm saying NC State's gonna cover 3, the the -3. I'm taking more guts than you 3 bozos. You're just saying, "Oh, they're gonna win just barely with by a point or 2." I'm going out there and saying that they're gonna win by more than 3 points. How they're
No,
gonna do
Duke
it?
Not
Duke
like
is
you're
the one that's
saying.
favored.
Duke's favored.
Yeah.
You're a
You're
degenerate,
saying
Jared. You
you're
should know
saying
that.
you're saying that Duke could win this game by 1 or 2 points.
Oh, well, you gotta play both sides fairly and equally. You
Uh,
go ahead and make sure you got yourself covered.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
Oh, you really do have a future in politics, Jared.
I really do.
Come
You
on,
know, for the
Jared. It's not doing your homework and knowing what reality is, okay?
yeah, thanks, Dabo. Anyway, with the odds so similar, yeah, I just went ahead and just played it a little safer, I guess. Just so, what are you gonna do?
Oh my goodness.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
What are you gonna
Right,
do?
in all seriousness, what is it that you guys like about the Wolfpack in this matchup?
They were not part of the fire that happened at Wake Forest on Thursday. That's always a good plus. They're innocent, not guilty.
I mean, I think that this is just me personally, is these are 2 teams. Well, one is the record disparity is just so funny that Duke is the favorite in this game, coming in at 1-2 on the season versus NC State, who's coming in at 3-0. But this is really an NC State team. I really think that we're waiting to see. I don't want to. I don't want to say resolve, because we've talked about the second half comebacks that they've had. I mean, they are 3-0. They've come back in the second half. Although, are they playing some of the better teams in the ACC right now? You can argue that's probably not the case. Whereas Duke didn't look very good against Illinois. Thought they'd be more competitive against them, and then last week just really ended up coming out flat against Tulane. So it really, for me, came down to which of these 2 teams that seems to be unproven in the win column, do I have more confidence in? And I came back to NC State, especially for a game that's essentially set up as a pick 'em. It just feels like NC State's the more reliable team right now.
I so I NC State's been impressive with their comeback victories. I also feel like, given the rather, like, higher bar that Duke has put themselves through in terms of their non-conference schedule so far this year, that, like, they kind of feel like a team that could really benefit from having a a week off already, and they're definitely not gonna get that until they get into October. So this feels kinda like a hangover game for Duke to have been, facing difficult non-conference opponents and then have to show up to take on, NC State. I think NC State's surging, even if the wins may not have been against particularly impressive teams. Like, having that resilience to come back 2 weeks in a row, that starts to build your confidence in what you can do going forward. And so I feel like we're going to see a repeat performance. We're going to see NC State down by a touchdown, maybe a touchdown and a field goal at halftime, and they put up 14 unanswered points, maybe 21 unanswered points in the second half, and that's the end of it.
For me in this one, I know Andrew awarded CJ Bailey, the Wolfpack quarterback, with a game ball for this past weekend's effort. But I think the real linchpin of this NC State offense is Hollywood Smothers. This tailback, he's gone over 140 yards each of the last 2 weeks. It just looked really, really sharp back there. And I think what you get with NC State is this really balanced offensive attack. I've not seen enough out of this Duke defense to believe that they can stop them for 4 quarters, and that's why I think, like, NC State wins it. I honestly, I I think NC State is a much better football team. They're much better than we thought they were gonna be coming into the season. I'm not sure Duke is quite as good as we expected, and I certainly think the Wolfpack are better right now. I'm taking the Wolfpack to win it outright. I'm not a wimp, like some folks on this podcast. Like, I willing to, say the thing and back it up and stand behind it. So there we go. And having said that, the Wolfpack are going to win this thing by 2, right?
We can only hope. All right. Let's move on to our quick fire bets. David, what you got for us to kick things off?
Oh, yeah, man. So I'm going to go SMU, another team that has not looked as good as we expected they would this season. They did play with their food against Missouri State on Saturday. Finally got a big win, but struggled early on. They're traveling to Fort Worth to take on TCU. This is a big rivalry game down there, and what I believe that TCU are favored in this one. Is it what, a 3-point spread or something like that? 3 or 4. I like TCU to win this thing. I don't know if they cover that spread. It may be a close one. We already saw SMU drop a close overtime game earlier in the season. I can see a similar thing, but I just not real high on the Mustangs right now. I think they lose this one to a very good TCU team.
Yeah, so pretty much on my end, Georgia Tech just had a huge win against Clemson on Saturday. And although the emotions may be high, I don't think they're going to be too physically drained to go ahead and beat Temple by more than 3 touchdowns with with 2 point conversions. 24 in the hook is the line. I think Georgia Tech takes care of Temple. Not too much of an issue. They are Temple's a they're not a good football team, boys.
A lot of points.
It is, but I think Brent Key is a man that makes sure he gets S done, and he has proven that over and over again.
All right. Well, I am going down to Chapel Bill for the spread. I'm definitely wavering here. It was opened at a 3.5 point spread. It's now widened to a 6.5 point spread. That is not in the Tar Heels' favor, but I feel like they're going to get it done. We'll take the Heels to at least cover, if not win outright, in their game this week. Jeff.
All right, and then what could be described definitely one of the less geographically sane members of the ACC, as well as one of the surprises of the ACC in this young season. We've got the Cal Golden Bears hanging out in the woods still. This time with Monty Montezuma, the mascot of the San Diego Aztecs, and taking care of business like it has every single week this year on this season. Minus 11.5 points. I think they cover that spread. I think Cal walks away with this game looking really really sharp right now on this young season for Cal.
As ever, we thank Jeff in particular for reminding us that there are teams in California that we should maybe think about and keeping us honest there on the Atlantic coast that is actually in the Pacific. That's it for that's it for the virtual tailgate. You can send your questions or comments to the virtual tailgate at mediabullcrap.com.
And always remember these three rules: never get less than 12 hours sleep.
Never play cards with a person. Oh, damn it! I lost the script.
And never get involved with the woman with a tattoo of a dagger on her body.
Stick to that, and you might just get a new head coach.
That's ball game.
I lost the tab. I'm sorry.